Welcome to the Complete Story Series for Manga Storian, where we condense down your favorite manga stories and classics for you to enjoy. We are intentionally doing these stories before watching the anime, so that we can bring you the story in a way that it was meant to be read. This can cause names to be read differently and the stories to have slight variations. To fully understand what happened to your favorite stories, we highly recommend purchasing them yourselves. Today we will be covering My Hero Academia Volume 1. People are not born equal. That is something Izuku Midoriya had to learn, but that was his first and last setback. It all started in Kiki City in China, when a bioluminescent baby was born. After that, exceptional people began to show up all over the world. But as time went on, this became normal. The fantasy of superpowers became a reality. Currently, 80% of the world's population consists of superhumans, and the world is in chaos. The profession that everyone dreamed about now became the spotlight. A villain appeared at the train station, and Izuku is right there watching. Whenever a villain appears, there's always a hero to stop them, and Izuku knows them all. That's when Kami Woods grabs him, and a giant woman flies in to kick the villain. She is Mount Lady, and today is her debut. Izuku takes notes on all of the heroes that show up, wanting to learn and be a hero himself. It's sheer excitement and fanboyism for him. Later at school, the teacher was going to have the class take their future career forms, but he's pretty sure all of the students just want to be heroes, so he throws them into the air. But there's one person in the back of the class that thinks his abilities are above everyone else in the class: Katsuki. Katsuki tells everyone how he will be the greatest hero, even passing All Might, the greatest hero around. And that's when he turns his attention to Izuku. He tells everyone how Izuku is going to apply for UA, and everyone turns and laughs. Izuku doesn't have any quirks like everyone else. Quirks are what superpowers are referred to in this world. But he still wants to apply to the school that every hero goes to, but everyone continues to just laugh at him. Later after class, Katsuki notices a book on Izuku's desk. The book reads, "My Hero Analysis for My Future." Katsuki begins to laugh at him, and he takes the book, and using his quirk, he creates an explosion out of it. Katsuki tosses it, and he tells him that he will be the first and only hero from this school that goes off to UA High. So Izuku better not even dare go. As Kazuki leaves though, he turns to tell Izuku that if he really wants to be a hero, he should probably jump off the roof so that he can be a hero in his next life. Izuku can't do anything. He has no quirks. When he was younger, all he would do was sit in front of his computer and watch over and over when a certain hero made his debut. That's when he decided that's who he wanted to be. But unfortunately, he wouldn't get to follow his dream. The doctors told his mother that he wouldn't develop any quirks because he has 2 joints in his pinky toe, and this is a sign that he will not develop any abilities. But that didn't stop him. He would continue to watch the videos over and over again, just wanted to be a cool hero like that. And that's when he decided he didn't care what anyone says. He was going to move forward with his dream. But as he was telling himself this, a villain literally appeared behind him. It was a villain made out of mud, and it begins to devour him. He begins to suffocate, and he thinks he's gonna die. Is he really gonna die like this? And that's when he's saved by none other than All Might, the greatest hero ever. After All Might smashes through the villain, Izuku faints. All Might tries to wake him back up, and after Izuku comes to, All Might tells him that he needs to go. Izuku still has many things to ask, so as All Might leaps away, Izuku grabs onto his leg. Over with Katsuki, the same villain appears and sees Katsuki and attempts to devour him. Impressed with the power of this young boy, he'll have fun controlling this boy's body. Back with Izuku and All Might, they land in a nearby building where All Might tells him he really needs to go. All Izuku wanted to know is how he too can be a hero even without a quirk. How can he be a hero just like All Might? Before All Might can answer though, he turns back into his true form. A scrawny and weak individual. All Might explains that he became this way because of an enemy that appeared 5 years ago. It hit him so hard that he needed to have his stomach removed, so he can only hold on to his power for a few hours a day. He then tells Izuku that a pro should always be ready to risk his life, and without a quirk, he wouldn't be able to do that. He wouldn't be able to be a hero. All Might begins to leave, but then he notices the villain that he caught earlier is actually missing. And it is the one currently devouring Katsuki and using his body. The nearby heroes want to help, but they're either too big or too weak, so they have to wait for someone with the right quirk. As All Might gets closer to the villain, he realizes that when he jumped off with Izuku, that must have been when he dropped the villain. So the only thing he can do now is watch because he doesn't have his powers right now. Izuku begins to walk home, hearing voices in his head telling him how he needs to be realistic. He can't be a hero. How can he be a hero without powers? But as he continues to walk, he sees a crowd of people surrounding a villain, and he notices that was the same one that tried to devour him. Seeing the monster, he can't stop thinking about how this is all his fault, and after seeing the look in Katsuki's eyes, Izuku runs towards the mess. He can't do anything. Why is he running towards it? He has no powers. Katsuki even asks him, "Why did you come? You can't save me." Back in the crowd, All Might watches, calling himself pathetic for not helping. And that's when All Might grabs Katsuki and remembers what he said himself. A pro should always be ready to risk his life. So All Might does what he does best, and he smashes the enemy. The other heroes show up and they yell at Izuku for running in like that, and then they tell Katsuki that he did good for holding off the villain. As Izuku went home, Katsuki calls out to him, telling him that he never asked for his help, and he storms off. Izuku turns back and begins to walk away when All Might rushes in and quickly reverts back to his normal form. All Might wanted to thank him for making him realize that he needed to act to save someone. Izuku tells him that it was his fault anyway. He's the one that forced the villain to get free, and he doesn't even have a quirk anyway. All Might stops him and tells him exactly. Even though you were the one without the powers, Izuku, you were the only one who went in to save him, and that inspired me to act. And that's when All Might tells him, you can be a hero. That's all Izuku wanted to hear, his idol telling him that. And All Might tells him, I believe you're worthy of inheriting my power. No one knows what All Might's powers are, but All Might tells Izuku his quirk has been passed down to him. And now, it may be Izuku's turn. The quirk All Might inherited is the one called One for All. It is the ability to act as a network of power, passing from one user to the next, getting stronger each time. It all depends on if Izuku will accept it, and without hesitation, he tells All Might, yes, he will accept it! However, receiving that power won't be easy. Izuku needs to train, and he needs to because if All Might just gave him the power, his limbs would pop right off. He can't contain it. So All Might's plan is to clean the beach of trash to help build up Izuku's strength. He's made a plan. Pass the test. American Dream Plan. Izuku has 10 months to train to apply for UA, so he trained, and he trained, and he trained until the day of his exam. He finally cleaned the entire beach. All Might shows Izuku a picture of what he looked like before and what he looks like now. Ripped. All Might then tells him that he has earned his power. So now, eat this strand of hair. Izuku asks him if this is really how he gets his powers, and All Might explains that it really doesn't matter, he just needs to get some of All Might DNA into him. And make sure he does it fast, the entrance exam is 3 hours away, and it's gonna take a couple of hours to digest. Izuku rushes home to shower, and he makes it just in time to run into Katsuki. Izuku tries to be friendly and tell him, hey, let's do our best, but Katsuki just dismisses him and walks off. But with that, Izuku moves forward, and he trips. Before falling, he's stopped by a girl using her quirk. She tells him that it's a bad omen to trip and fall, so she sets him back upright and she leaves. He did it! He talked to a girl! Even though he didn't actually talk and she spoke to him. Once inside, President Mike explains the guidelines of the exam. The students will be divided and sent into an automated battlefield where they will defeat 3 types of robots to earn points. One student stands up and asks why there are 4 villains listed on the papers. President Mike tells him that the 4th monster is a gimmick monster worth 0 points, so it's best to just avoid it. And with that, President Mike tells everyone, break a leg. As the students begin to gather, President Mike tells them the test has already begun. Everyone begins to run around, dropping the robots, leaving Izuku behind. And he thinks back to what All Might told him. Without proper training and using his quirk, he needs to prepare for some kickback. So once he goes to use the One for All power, clench up your butt and let your heart cry. But before Izuku can finish that thought, a giant robot comes crashing through. It begins to move around Izuku, but another student jumps in to destroy it. Izuku hears the sound, the time is running out, and he looks back to see most of the robots are destroyed, and he still doesn't even have any points. But that's when the giant gimmick robot comes bursting through. Everyone begins to run away, but Izuku just sits there and watches, and then he sees someone. It was the girl from before, trapped. Watching as the gimmick robot starts to move closer, Izuku runs in, pulls his arm back. This is it. Let your heart cry out and smash! Everyone stops to watch, and All Might smiles from the crowd. As Izuku begins to fall, he notices that his right arm and his right leg are broken from using the power. Just before he lands, the girl stops him mid-air and lets him land softly. As he crawls on the ground, he just starts saying, with at least 1 point. I just need at least 1 point. President Mike calls to everyone to tell them the exam is over. Izuku receives some treatment for his broken bones from Recovery Girl, the nursing instructor. And a week later, Izuku sits, waiting for his results from his exam. He barely passed the written part and he scored a 0 on the field test. So the only thing he can do is wait, and he knows he's gonna fail. That is, until he receives a letter from UA High. He opens it up and a projection of All Might beams in front of him. All Might came to this town so that he could be a teacher at UA High, and he announces that even though Izuku didn't get any points for defeating robots, he did get 60 rescue points for saving that girl, and with that, he has been accepted. The next night, Izuku meets with the real All Might, where he congratulates him for making it into UA. But he wanted to tell him that he needs to keep training to use his powers, learn to control it, because right now he has no idea how to regulate. But when someone spots All Might, they decide it's time to go. The next day, at his first day of class, he's brought to the Hero Academy's gym class. While it didn't go perfectly due to the fact that he still can't regulate his powers, and he can only go full force, he did find out how to focus his powers into a single finger, allowing him to not completely fail that day. And the day after that, All Might begins to tell everyone that today's lesson will be battle training. But first, everyone needs their costumes. All Might tells them after they change to come out in ranking order. Looking good is very important, so look alive, because from today on, you are all heroes. As Izuku finishes getting ready, he is the last one to step out, and All Might calls for everyone. Shall we begin? I really loved this series, and I can't wait to go watch the anime and see if it's as cool as the manga. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and don't forget to follow Mangastorian at Mangastorian, or you can follow me at Comicstorian. I'll see you guys next time right here.